Well, hello, babes. Oops, I did not turn on the background lights. Where is this? Hello, background lights. Ding ding. There we go. Now things feel complete. Hi, babes. Hello, hordes. You are the horde. I am the dragon, and this is the show. What's up? Hey, Lord Byron. What's up, Jackie Sins? I am so sorry to Tiny Wooden Tree. I doubt that you're here right now, but I missed your donation at the end of the last show because I was so focused on finishing the segment and I completely didn't read it out. That was my bad. That was my bad. I'm sorry. Uh, so yeah, hello. And then what's up over in the YouTube chat? It looks like we've got more people over in the YouTube chat today. Surely this will soothe my massive headache. Listen, I feel you. I am trying to fix, like, I have the hump in my back right here, like in the back of my neck here, and I'm trying to fix it. So I got a foam roller. So earlier, I was like rolling out my back, and it turns out that hurts a lot. Like it's like the equivalent of doing pretty intense back bends, I guess. So my back, I had a little bit of a headache. A little bit of a headache. What's up, mama? Hello. What happened on Sunday? I was napping. I mean, nothing terribly exciting. You know, we did the show. And what did we talk about? What are my stream notes from last time? Come on, come on, come on. Scroll. Scroll down. We talked about how Target is not doing Pride this year at certain locations because they've caved to terrorism. And simultaneously, like, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security issued like a warning the same way that they did last year, saying that they are seeing foreign agencies indicating that they're going to do terrorism, which, like, okay, thanks for the terrorism warning, but it is mostly a domestic terrorism issue, in my opinion. And then, yeah, some school in Mississippi cracked down on a trans girl for wearing a dress to a formal event. So we've got some, you know, Title IX discrimination stuff going on. Thank you, Lord Byron, for the $20 donation, starting us off strong. Passed my comprehensive exam today, meaning I have about a year left in my PhD, spreading some of the joy. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear it. I think you're at least the second person in this community who has gotten, like, if you get your PhD next year, you'll be the second person in this community who's gotten their PhD, like, while being an active member of the community on the show. The other person is Decoy Duck. So, man, congratulations. That's amazing. I know a PhD is really difficult to acquire, quite difficult to achieve. So, yeah, congratulations. And thank you for spreading the love on that one. Make sure I've got all my tabs open. Yes, hello, Kitty Tick. Hope you and the wife and the baby are doing good. Yikes, I'm ready to say some stuff. Yeah, some TOS stuff now. You know, we didn't get too spicy on Sunday's show. The spicier show was last week on Wednesday, which I uploaded one of the videos from that today, and that video is not doing too well. So it's the comparison now for me is like, oh, the James Somerton video did hella numbers, so everything else is just by comparison. Yeah, hello, YouTube chat. Don't forget to like the show, everybody. And if you're on the YouTube chat, you might want to hop over to the website, which is the top link in the description, where you can get access to custom emojis and everything. Getting emotional. Listen, it makes sense to be emotional. Like, you passed a difficult exam, and then you have a year left in your PhD. That means I assume that you need to finish your thesis, basically, and then you'll do your thesis defense, and then that'll be it, right? I mean, it's a big deal. Going through those transitions, like starting new things, it's crazy. People with master's degrees seem to enjoy your content. Yeah. Baby and everybody all doing well. Good, good. Yes. Kuro Peach. Welcome in to the website. What's up, Igor? Trans rights, meh, who cares? James Somerton, wow, I have to see this. Well, so actually the video that I posted today was about how, well, I advertised it as, like, wearing a mask is a felony in Ohio, because we did talk about that last week. Jackie, thank you so much for the $5 dono. After Sunday's stream, you know who started commenting on my channel and tried to turn me against you. I obviously didn't fall for it. Did Joanne really do that? We had a chatter last time on Sunday who was being really annoying. She was being a troll. Like, I blocked her and then she hopped on an alternate account to come back to the chat and talk more shit. And apparently she went commenting on other people's channels. Like, wow. What a waste of time. We had fun, though. We had fun making fun of her. And we used her as an opportunity to educate about COVID and all that. So, yeah, so sorry. I only have an associate's, but that's the highest I can go in culinary. Really? Culinary school is only a 2-year program? Mental health is shite from work. Happy to be here. Yes, a different Joanne. Yeah. Speaking of mental health being shite, I had therapy this morning, and it was the kind of therapy session that kind of fucks you for the rest of the day, you know? So that's partially why we're kind of just planning on chilling, and this might even be a shorter stream. Like, we'll just talk about whatever comes up. I don't really have any plans for any segments where we're gonna, strap in. Let's talk about this very serious topic. What did y'all even put in the stream recommendations channel? There's a post from Erin Reed about how it's fact-checking that a new study does not actually show that trans surgery increases suicidality. And the reason for that is because they compared the post-surgical trans group, to the general population. So it turns out that trans people, even after they've had bottom surgery, still have a slightly higher suicidal ideation rate or suicidal attempt rate, whatever, than the general population, but they have a lower chance of suicide than a trans person who hasn't yet had a surgery that they want to have. So that's kind of the too long didn't read on that story. Arrest warrants basically are in the process of being issued for Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant. And of course, Benjamin Netanyahu is like the prime minister or president of Israel. And then I'm not sure who Yoav Gallant is, but I'm guessing that he's another state power in Israel. And then, what is this post about? This post is about how a decade of gender-critical infiltration into Wikipedia has been documented. But yeah, I'm feeling kind of resistant to getting into any serious, oh, let's record a segment kind of topics. My wife has a master's and I am technically a 5-time college dropout. Did a lot of self-education and library loving. Yeah, I've learned that educational neglect is not as uncommon as one would hope. Like, just situations where people are being allegedly homeschooled, but nobody's actually educating them, or they start out educating them and then they stop and then they don't put the kids back in public school. And obviously public school itself is like not great. There are people who are being pushed through and graduate high school and they only have like a 2nd grade reading comprehension level. Obviously that's a problem. So yeah, it's so weird. Educational neglect all over the place. So a lot of people are having to figure it out on their own, having to be self-starters, having to, go look at GED class resources and things like this. Beanie Techie, welcome to the website. You genuinely have to jump through so many hoops to even attempt to make trans healthcare look bad. Yeah, so much cognitive dissonance, like so much, like, ooh, we're going to misrepresent this data, and oh, we're going to discount this data that actually does matter. Like, yeah, it's wild out there. Is that news about the Spanish Wikipedia? I also heard news about conversion therapy garbage being put on there. I don't know. That's a great question. Let me pull it up. Yeah, so apparently some of them are like conversion therapy propaganda articles. Oh, yeah, no, you're right. This is Spanish speaking Wikipedia. Let me put this on the screen so that you can see it, and we'll kind of look at it for a minute here. You can get an awesome education from the library. Yeah, it is true that you can get a lot of stuff at the library, but it's also tough if you're like, if you don't know where to start, or if you try to start educating yourself and wherever you start kind of assumes that you know a lot of knowledge already, then you're like, oh, well, shit. Okay, so this is clearly too advanced. Like, I can't learn fractions if I don't know basic multiplication and division, for example. So I think, yeah, it's tough not having the structure around it. But yeah, this is a decade of infiltration in Wikipedia and Wikimedia Foundation. Harmful misinformation promoting conversion therapy. Like, yeah, this is Spanish speaking Wikipedia. So yeah, I feel like that much reading is kind of beyond my ability today. I have a headache and I cried a lot during therapy today, and I'm just gonna let that be for now. Hello, Kelsey. Welcome in. Dally says a brother did courses and tests at the library that were on the college level because he didn't go to college but needed/wanted more education. Yeah. And I do think that community college is a good way to go. But if you don't have an access, the library is free and all the stuff there is free. I once met a gal who was given the same education program that Duggars used, which is basically just religious propaganda with no real education, as part of the NIFB. I'm not familiar with the NIFB off the top of my head, but yeah, it's so weird. I've seen like TikToks of a parent asking her kid, do you know what LGBT means? And the kid's like, no. And then it's like, do you know who died for your sins? And she's like, Jesus. And it's like, why are you proud to be depriving your child of critical information that will enable them to be a functional member of society? Want me to throw you some ibuprofen? Go stand outside. It'll land in Kansas in a few minutes. Yeah, we're going to play the longest range game of like catch the food in your mouth, where I'm just like, I'm trying to catch the ibuprofen from 500 miles away. NIFB is the New Independent Fundamentalist Baptists, the church Dead Domain infiltrated. Oh yeah, I didn't go back and watch that Dead Domain video. I think the oldest video of theirs that I've watched is the going to the Republican convention thing. But is the NIFB the church where that guy is always talking about like kill the gays and like you deserve to get AIDS and stuff like that? Is that the one that I'm thinking of? He's always saying shit that's insanely out of pocket. Goodwill has computer labs where you can get Google certificates. Learned this when I drove a GW manager in an Uber ride. Oh, okay, interesting. Valtteri Numelin, what a cool name. Varpu here from Finland. NB person just to cheer you up. Nice. Welcome in. Thank you so much for chilling with us. Or at least just saying hello. Always appreciate the greetings. 43 people in here, 26 likes. I'd love it if you could hit the like button. It's quick, it's easy, it's free, and it always helps the show. I would love it if we could get to a point where these kind of non-political, non-structured streams can get like just as many viewers as the hard-hitting political content streams. That video is very good, but also super chilling. Yeah, I did feel that way. I watched recently Dead Domain's video on the Satanic Church. They're two separate entities, but I can never remember which is which. And I watched most of that video, and I stopped watching when they gave a bunch of content warnings for like sexual exploitation. I was like, I can't. I can't with this right now. Yeah, they recently infiltrated CPAC. Glad I did not pay enough attention to the Southern Baptist sermons to know how many times I was told to be anti-LGBT. I love Goodwill for that. I've never seen a Goodwill that had a computer lab. That's really interesting. My dad required us to be able to argue and debate. He also made my mom let us read any books we wanted, and that is what straight up saved me from the Mormons and helped me escape. Most church people are worse than my parents, so I have that. Yeah, you know, forcing you to familiarize yourself with opposing arguments so that you would be better at destroying those arguments inadvertently makes you question your own beliefs quite a lot, I think. Oh, Goodwill job centers are what they... Oh, okay. That's cool. That's really cool. I didn't have any idea that was a thing. Of course, I live in a conservative state, so I imagine that those kind of resources are more like few and far between. Like, I don't know how much, like how many services there are in Kansas with, you know, sometimes you can take free GED classes or take like GED practice tests. Just speaking to the educational neglect conversation from earlier. Whew. I purchased a back brace. I'm trying to fix this dowager's hump thing, so I'm learning a bunch of like exercises that I can do and stretches that I can do. And part of the problem is that I collapse in my back. That's the thing. So it's gonna take a few days to get here, but I bought a back brace that's gonna like hopefully pull my shoulders back a little bit and like rigid support to like actually keep my back straighter so that I'm not doing this, because it's so easy. It's so easy to just slouch. Oh, geez. What else is going on with everybody this week? It's Wednesday. It's hump day, my dudes. I did leg day yesterday. Which means I did upper body on Monday. So, great news. Wife bought me my first brand new sewing machine I've ever had. That's very exciting. Hell yeah. My mother-in-law got me a sewing machine for my birthday this year, and I've used it a little bit. Not much. I need to mend stuff. Yes, I'm working out. A strong back will help. Yeah, like, I'm definitely working out my back. But like stretching and regular posture are things that I need help with, I think. Because it's so easy to just not notice that you're slouching. It's a nice heavy-duty computerized Singer. You might have gotten basically the same sewing machine that I did. I got a heavy-duty Singer, and it's computerized. Not heavily computerized. I can sew 4 layers of leather with it. Hell yeah. My experience with back braces is that they work pretty okay, and you don't have to wear them as long as you would think in order to get a benefit from them. Wearing them too much will actually hurt. Yeah, I figured I'll wear it when I know that I'm going to be sat at my computer for a while. Like if I know I'm going to sit here and work, or if I know I'm going to sit here and play a video game for a while, then I'll go ahead and wear it. But if I'm up and I'm walking around and things, I probably won't wear it to the gym. Yeah. I'm fucking pushing it at the gym right now, too. I'm really enjoying... I'm like... I want to be tired afterwards. Like, I want to have, like, a difficult time thinking straight afterward, you know? So long as I don't destroy any of my connective tissue, yeah. I'm, like, ready to exceed some previous records, for sure. Oh, which, by the way, if you're interested... No pressure, but I did just post a new set of photos on Fansly. As you all know, probably, I don't post nudes. I post thirst traps. So if you want to see, like, cute goth outfits and flexing and maybe post-workout pictures, that type of thing. I'm hopefully going to be posting more regularly on Fansly. It was back day today. Hell yeah. Yes. I have so much focus on my upper back. Captain Vaughn says, I feel really alone with how disturbed I am that Christianity is as widely accepted as it is. Well, don't feel too alone. I am also very uncomfortable with how ubiquitous Christianity is. I've just learned that it's not really a useful, way for me to spend my time to talk about it a lot. If I have a focus on trans rights, there are trans people who are deeply religious. As silly as that seems to me, as little sense as that makes to me. So, it just seems to me like focusing on the atheism aspect. Yes, atheists face certain types of bigotry in the US. And yes, Christianity has a disproportionate influence on our society. I don't actually think that Christians who purport to be Christian, like politicians who say, I'm a Christian and that's why I'm against abortion, or I'm a Christian and that's why I'm against LGBTQ people, I don't think they're being honest. I think they're lying. So at a certain point, I feel like if we focus in on the Christian part, that's like we have successfully taken the bait on a distraction, if that makes any sense. I'm still evolving on this, and I am still pretty anti-theist in that, like, I'm like anti-Christian in the sense that I think that the dominant religion in my country has done a lot more harm than good. But I also think that Christianity, or even Catholicism, I think that these are just excuses to do something messed up that they were going to do anyway, I think that something like the Crusades would have happened anyway, and that, the whole let's spread the word of God thing and destroy the heretics, I think that that's just a convenient excuse. It's just another way of establishing an in-group versus an out-group, whether it's ethnic or whether it's nationalist or whether it's, it just doesn't, whatever. It's like Christianity is just the excuse to do the messed up thing that they wanted to do anyway. That's why so many modern Christian beliefs seem like they aren't in line with what Jesus Christ is alleged to say in the Bible, That so many modern day Christians in the United States are against feeding the poor and are against, they get mad that there are homeless people in their communities instead of going out and doing humanitarian work to help them, or that they're super against sex work, even though Jesus Christ was allegedly friends with sex workers, basically, it's not even about Christianity or the religion or the beliefs around it. It's just, let's use something as an excuse to impose our worldview on other people, to establish in-group, out-group, and to use this to convince people, oh, well, we're going to say that it's unchristian to let these immigrants in our country, whatever, they're heathens and they're spreading whatever, even though a lot of Hispanic people are Catholic. And also the whole fucking thing about Jesus is that you're supposed to be nice to immigrants. The fact that they were not given a place to stay, allegedly. We don't know if anything in the Bible is real, so that's why I keep saying allegedly. But yeah, that not being welcoming to immigrants is why Jesus was supposedly born in a barn, with the animals. Can you imagine giving birth and having what is effectively a gaping wound in your vagina? Oh yeah, I'm gonna give birth on some straw. I grew up in the church and people got so mad at me for saying it's not my place to judge, especially since I was the pastor's kid. That's funny. Knitting and playing RuneScape. Good way to spend a Wednesday evening. Yeah, I'm religious, but not the weird kind. I technically have this like pagan thing. I'm just not weird about it. I don't really believe in any of the supernatural aspects of it. It's just for fun. I deal with a lot of people who try to make me feel guilty for not being Christian. Yeah, sure. It's just like a tool for control, you know? Like a lot of people, me, I'm pagan too. There you go, Jackie. A lot of people, like real human people, are influenced by the authority of the religion. So then politicians and religious leaders can be like, yeah, you need to go out there and tell and spread the word that being gay is a sin, for one example. And a lot of, well-meaning citizens get caught up in that and are led to believe, that homophobia is a good thing or whatever number of beliefs. Excuse me. Oh my God, burpee. I think it's weird that Christians of all people feel so comfortable calling other people delusional or threats to children. Talk about the pot calling the snow black. Right. And then also calling people groomers when, like, is this a pagan server? Not exclusively. Like, we're good with, obviously, if there are Christians in the group, I don't mean to say, like, I'm against you personally. If you have the kind of Christianity that's like, I follow Jesus Christ, and the fact that he said to take care of people and to share with the poor and to pray in private at home, like, I'm down with those kind of Christians. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me why you believe those things, but, like, I don't think that you're a problem. But, yeah, more like the broader organized structure of religion. Speaking of religion, I'm going to just mention this really briefly in case anybody hasn't heard it so far. If you're familiar with The Line, which is a YouTube show, they've got a bunch of different shows that they do every day of the week. Most of them are atheist-oriented in some way. They've got Matt Dillahunty on there, who is famously an atheist who used to be on The Atheist Experience back in the day. I have now been onboarded as an official host of the Transatlantic Call-In Show, which we don't really... It's not like exclusively about religion stuff, obviously, because it's the Transatlantic show. We talk about trans issues, but we come at that conversation from the position of being atheists. So that happens on Thursday at 2 p.m. Central. I have not yet received the schedule for next month, but I am officially one of the hosts of the show, one of the co-hosts. Usually I go on there as a guest, and Arden just lets me be mean to chatters. But I'm going to actually be a host, and I'm very excited. Just finalized all the details about that this week. And so if you're interested, we do a chill show here most of the time. On The Line, we have people call in, and they argue with us. Gender critical people call in and give their positions, and then we argue with them. Would you ever do any of their atheist shows as well? I would, and I will talk to Jimmy about that. I meant to mention it during our call, but, I don't focus in on the religious stuff as much anymore, but it is still part of my overall belief structure that, like, Christian influence over American society has overall been kind of a negative. So, yeah, I definitely would go on one of their other shows. I'll have to chat with him about that and see if there's any other availability. Yeah, thank you, everybody. I'm really excited to be joining the team over there. What's the channel link? Oh gosh, let me pull it up for you. It's at Q&A line. There's the link if you're interested in subscribing over there. And if you choose to financially support the show, I will benefit from that as well. Full disclosure, that's part of the benefit of being, like, officially I'm a host over there. Yeah. Riffs in the YouTube chat says, it's hard to be critical of Abrahamic religions without coming off as a bigot to most people. Yeah. Listen, okay, do you all remember a few years ago, there was that trans guy who was responding to all of the body shaming toward Trump by, he started posing nude in like Central Park in New York or something like that. Like he was just, I'm nude because his body type, people keep making fun of Trump for having a small penis. Well, trans men generally have small penises or micro penis or whatever you would want to call it. And then, like, he's fat and so is Trump. And he was doing this whole, like, performance art type thing. Do any of you remember that? It was a while ago. It might have been in 2016. Varpu equals twig in English. Name change will cost money, and I hope I have money from work to legally change my name. Hey, that's an excellent name, Twig. Oh, wow. That's an amazing name. I love that. Just subbed and look forward to seeing you there. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, that's going to be Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time. So a little bit earlier in the afternoon than we typically do our show here. Just got plugged into the plasma place. And Shang-Chi is on the TV. It was on the last time I was here. Almost this exact part. Am I the main character? I think you must be. I was a super Christian teen / child, and I have so many ingrained beliefs that I'm still working through. I think that's one of the saddest things about growing up religious is that, like, like Rhett and Link, the Good Mythical Morning guys, they have like an annual thing now where they talk about their deconstruction process. That's what it's called when you're a super evangelical and you decide to remove like yourself from the situation. They don't call it like deconversion. They call it deconstruction. So one of the things that they struggled with was, being told that they should hate gay people, but then meeting gay people and, feeling this awkwardness when, they would go to hug one of their gay friends, having this like, this feeling like their religion was requiring them to stay distant from people who they loved in their lives. And like that was a major part of their deconstruction, was like, why am I judging these people for something that they can't control? Like, why is it that I was taught that this is a sin? I have not been listening to Takis too much because the spicy calls are a bit infrequent, IMO, and at this point I find all the gender 101 a bit boring. I'm petty and want the yelling. I'll have to let you know, Mama, if I'm like, ooh, hey, I can see the calls before the stream show has started. There's going to be some spicy calls today. But so the reason why I brought up that trans guy, and I can't even remember his name, but yeah, trans guy was doing this whole stop body shaming Trump because it doesn't hurt Trump. It only hurts people in your real life who do have these same body features. I was friends with him on Facebook briefly, and I made a post talking about religion on Facebook, and he argued with me, and I was like, this is some very basic stuff about taxes, like the fact that any church gets nonprofit status by default, but then an atheist humanist organization has to spend, dozens of hours sometimes every year getting their tax documents in order to prove that they are a nonprofit organization that is benefiting the community. Like there's this assumption that churches, like they get non-tax status partially because there's an assumption that they're doing good works in their community. There's an assumption that they're feeding the homeless. There's an assumption that they're, helping women get out of domestic relationships, like domestic situations, and just pointing out that there's a double standard made this person like call me a bigot, like calling me an anti-Christian bigot because I don't think it's cool that churches are held to a totally different standard. And, that like churches will do things that they're not supposed to do, like tell you who to vote for. And it's like, you should lose your nonprofit status. You actually are legally not allowed to maintain the you are supposed to be a non-political organization in order to maintain that status. And yeah, it was crazy, like being called an anti-Christian bigot because I think that churches should have to prove that they're doing beneficial works in order to get tax-exempt status. That we have thousands and thousands and thousands of buildings, thousands and thousands of acres of land that normally would be taxed that are tax-exempt, but they still get all the benefits. We still build the road to the church. We still send the fire truck to the church, and they just don't pay taxes. The only assumption I consistently get for being atheist is that my existence must be sad. Yeah. That's one that I've heard before. I enjoyed last week when you told the guy, feels over reals, babe. Laughed really hard. Yeah, I was a little bit mean. It was fun. Can we shame Trump for being orange? I mean, yeah, there's no real people who are orange, so that should be a pretty easy mark. The atheism organization isn't a spectacular comparison because it's not a church. Well, but there are. Like, there's, oh shit, what's it called? There are humanist churches where you go, like what is it called? Like Sunday Assembly, where it's a humanist thing where you go and you do the same stuff that you do at church, right? But those organizations have the higher standard of burden of proof than a Christian church would. Anybody who throws out the words anti-Christian bigot is 99.9% of the time someone without any real problems. True. But at the same time, the whole you don't have any real problems is part of why I stopped being so hardcore with the atheism stuff. Like, being a trans person and a queer person and like seeing the difference in the kind of bigotries, like, it just stopped making sense to me to focus in so hard on the atheism stuff. Like, yes, atheists experience forms of discrimination. There's not really violence toward atheists for their atheism, at least in my country. Somewhere else, it might make more sense to, like, focus in on that. But it did start to feel to me at a certain point like the whole new atheism, like, dominated by, like, white guys bitching about religion all the time. Like, it just struck me as, like, this is a really privileged kind of social justice, which is fine. It is still social justice. Like, there is still, there are still issues where, like, people say they would rather vote for a rapist than vote for an atheist. And people lose their family members when they come out as atheists. Like, that's why the Recovering from Religion Foundation exists. But just, like, on the grand scheme of things, by comparison, it just felt like a lot of whinging, especially when you were looking at the Sam Harrises and the Richard Dawkinses of the whole thing. I've got a whole friend group that talks about CPTSD caused by growing up in the church. Sometimes it feels like a bunch of non-vets meeting up. Yeah, teaching people that they're going to go to hell, like telling children that they're going to go to hell, I think is probably one of the most fucked up things you can do to a child's psychological being without physically harming them. Like, obviously physically harming a child damages their psychological state more, but like telling a kid that they're going to go to hell, telling them that someone that they love went to hell, like growing up with that, I know that people deal with that for a long time, even after they give up their beliefs. They're like, I don't even believe in hell, and yet I still have this anxiety around it. How could you even be bigoted towards Christians when they are the majority of the population and control the government? Yeah, that's the question. I don't. It's like when people are accusing black folks of being racist toward white people. It's like, how does this make sense? How is telling a child they'll go to hell not child abuse? Because Christianity is the dominant religion. It's the same reason why you cannot call Christians delusional. I mean, unless they're genuinely dealing with something. But part of the definition of a delusion is that it has to be like not a popular belief. If it's like common that Christians like are a huge part of the population and they all believe in hell, then the idea of like an individual person believing in hell is by definition not delusional because of how normalized it is. Which is like weird, but you know, that's just by looking at the DSM and how it defines things and everything. Plus, you aren't born Christian. It's a religion you choose to participate in. Yeah, I've always thought that's a little bit weird. Like, why is it that, you know, the UN definition of genocide, for example, why does it explicitly cover religion, which is a belief system that you are not born with, you have to be taught, but like gay and trans people who are inherently like that for the most part, like those things had to be tacked on later, or those things are more considered to be like a cultural genocide as opposed to explicit genocide? I don't know. I know somebody who was raised Christian and has OCD, and they are terrified of hell despite not being Christian or believing in hell. Yeah. I'm sure that the OCD is incidental, but yeah, the intersection of those things. As a gay man, I think only anal before marriage is acceptable. Soaking. We're going to get into a whole soaking conversation. The jump hump. Are you familiar with the jump hump, everybody? Like, soaking is like kind of a Mormon thing, right? Is it? Oh, I guess it's like an evangelical thing. Like, if you put it in, but you don't move, then that's it doesn't count as having sex, right? And then you get one of your friends to jump on the bed, and that causes movement and friction. And then, yeah, it's, you know, you're trying to trick God, honestly, at that point, which seems like a bad move. Brian Stevens, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you. It's going to take a minute to show up on the stream. It's a little bit slow when it comes through on YouTube. But thank you very much. Much appreciated. Yes, you found a very interesting time to enter in the chat. It's a Mormon thing. Okay. As a linguist, I think delusion should speak to reality, not popularity. It seems backward. Yeah, but if it's like a normalized belief, then it's not quite the same as like a person like having a genuine break with reality, you know? I don't disagree with you necessarily. I'm just saying that like the way that the DSM defines delusion, if you just have normal Christian beliefs, like you have common Christian beliefs, then that, you know, doesn't exactly count. If you believe that you are Jesus Christ, then sure, you're Delulu, right? We can say that confidently. Soaking is soft edging. God is obviously a T-Rex. If you stay still enough, he can't see the sex. True. Excuse me. I grew up with Romani superstition / spirituality, and sometimes my partner does stuff that's not allowed, and I'm like, gasp, don't do that. But when they ask why, I'm like, oh, I guess it's fine actually. Like, yeah. And like with cults as well, like you can't define a cult by like just a religious group. because the definition of cult, like, carves out an exception. Like, oh, all of these things, like, oriented around an authority figure and predicated on, members giving up some amount of individuality, etc. And then they just, like, in parentheses, except religion. Except in the cases of religion. The OCD makes it worse because you're telling a child with OCD they will go to hell. It contributes to negative, intrusive thoughts. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely does not make it good. Yeah, Padfoot Sam, religion gets grandfathered in as not being a cult because they predate cults, I guess. Edgy Reddit atheist tropes are used against non-religious people constantly by Christians and people with Christian-aligned morals. Yeah. I guess that is kind of one of the annoying things. It's like, I am an atheist, but I'm not doing this whole edgy thing. I mean, I used to. Let me be completely clear. Let me add Brian's $5 to the donation goal. I used to be much more of like an edgy atheist, and I couldn't leave it alone. I used to shit on Christians as a whole and like Christianity in general, but I just don't think that that's a useful way to spend my time. Because again, like, a very popular trans activist like blocked me on Facebook over my very mild criticisms of religion as a tax-exempt institution. And so it just seems like I would rather be in community with queer Christians than be in community with non-queer atheists. Does that make any sense? This discussion on delusions is part of the flaw in general to psychological diagnostics and definitions. Yeah, like, the way that we construct the idea of a delusion or a cult or whatever, like, the way that we frame these things and the way that we define these things are culturally dependent, you know? Cults become religions when the guy is dead. I forget who said that. Zypatian says, the thing about soaking is that while it may be done, no one is actually holding the priesthood or temple. No one who holds the priesthood or temple recommends, actually believes it's an okay exception. They're aware it's a lie that youth tell themselves. Yeah, it's not like the church is out there saying it's okay if you just put the tip in. You know, they would still say that's wrong. But I think it's one of those things where they just kind of go, well, you know, these kids are going to do it anyway, so we might as well not expel them from the church for doing it. Do you take issue with the tax exempt thing? Yeah, for sure. Like, just, I mean, you know, again, coming from this as an American, I drive by churches all the time. I know what property taxes are. I know how much property tax we miss out on. Like, it harms our communities. It harms our schools. If, you know, like, you have huge buildings and acres of land that they're sitting on not being taxed. Like, it's a literal drain on a community. Popping in and saying, at least growing up under the kind of torture the church put me through equipped me to better see when it's happening and never force my children into anything because of it. Yeah. Yeah. I also feel lucky that I was never forced to be religious. I went to church, but I looked at it mostly as like, oh, I get to go hang out with my cousin, and they are going to tell me some stories, and I guess I kind of sort of believed them. I guess I kind of sort of believed the stories, but I wasn't heavily invested in it, and okay, I lived with an abusive parent, right? My mother was physically abusive, and I was still living with her up until, like, I was in middle school. And the thing that ended my belief which was already pretty casual, was that I was being abused and I was praying to be removed from that situation, and nothing was changing, and no one was on the other end of the phone call I was trying to make. Like, it didn't really take very much for me to stop believing because my belief wasn't very strong in the first place. What's your favorite soup? Oh, man. What is my favorite soup? I made a really fucking good chicken noodle soup this weekend because I butchered the chickens and then I put the carcasses in a stock pot and I made stock and then I made chicken noodle soup. Oh my god, it was fire. But I am a huge fan of potato soup as well. Like, potato soup might be my favorite. Except that I don't like cooking bacon. I've decided that I don't like cooking bacon anymore. I drive by churches all the time. True! Brat, brat, pew, pew. I did like watching Skeptic YouTube back in the day, but then the movement on the whole pivoted to criticizing women who wanted to make games, and I had to do some introspection about what I was consuming. Right. Himjack, I was actually an active member of the skeptic atheist community during that time. I was a contributing author on the website Teen Skepchick, which was like, yeah, skeptic, but chicks. So it was like the feminism, and like, yes, I did identify as non-binary at that time. We had male contributors as well. So like, when that split happened, and I don't know if you all remember the invention of the term atheism plus, like just atheism with a plus symbol. But this was the idea that it was like, we are atheists and we care about other social justice issues. And there was a split where you had the dude bro atheists like Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins. And if Hitchens had been alive at that point, he would have been on that end of things. Like, the kind of people that you need to have a whisper network about their behavior. I know, free thought blogs, I know. Yeah, that was basically the whole Gamergate debacle. Yes, that was Rebecca Watson's website. Believe it or not, I have been crammed into the backseat of a car with Rebecca Watson because I used to go to these events. So yeah, I was there. This was where I cut my teeth in the whole activism thing. Like, I was a skeptic atheist who happened to break off onto the feminism side of that thing. That was the split. It was atheism, but do they agree with feminism or not? So the dude bros who like hated that we were calling out men for being creepy and shit, and then versus like the increasing, basically like, this is where woke scolds came from. Like the whole concept of an SJW, like social justice warrior, that is where this term came from, was the split in the atheist community. Sam M, thank you so much for the $5 dono on Super Chat. Glad you're out of that shit. True. Thank you, Jackie Sins, for another $5 dono. I used to go to what was called Unity Center. It was kind of churchy, Jesus-y, but not explicitly, and I did see some Muslims there as well. Yeah. There was a lot of crazy shit going on there. Oh, there's the super chat finally came through. Thank you, Sam. I feel so out of the loops. I missed everything online since forever. This makes me feel old because this happened when I was a teenager. I'm 30. Like Elevator Gate and the whole Dear Muslima thing that Dawkins posted. Like, I feel so old. But this is where I came from. Like this, I broke off in the atheist community. I broke off on the feminist side of that, and I started focusing more and more on social justice activism that didn't have anything to do with atheism. My anti-theist tendencies kind of cooled off over time, and then I also gradually came to hate the people that were in that community, because I don't like SJWs. I don't like people who won't shut the fuck up about ableism over absolutely like tiny things. I found that insufferable and annoying. Like, it felt shitty to me that in order to have my non-binary identity validated, I had to tolerate all this other shit and being like afraid of even asking questions about stuff like cultural appropriation without being basically like at risk of losing my community, which is why I ended up being kind of attracted to the dirtbag left, where you're like Vosh and Xander Hall and all these kind of people, because I was like, okay, these people will validate my gender, and I don't feel like I need to walk on eggshells around these people. Like, they will continue to, even if they disagree with me, they will try to educate. And even if we don't end up agreeing at the end of the day, they will not cancel me and say, oh, Luxander is a terrible person, you should stop watching their content. Like, that's why I've ended up where I am. Like, that's TLDR, that's the whole story, is atheism split, and then I was on the side with the SJWs. I was one of the first people who identified with the term SJW. They made it as an insult. We started calling ourselves that for fun. Like, ooh, I'm a social justice rogue. I'm a social justice druid. And then I came to hate those people. Rebecca Watson is still cool, though. Rebecca Watson was usually like, she was also kind of the sort of person who was like annoyed when people would start nitpicking over shit. So I think she's cool. I'm not trying to say that she sucks or anything. It was like the other people in that community who sucked. Yeah, God, it was such a long time ago. It is funny how so many of those dude bro atheists are aligned with fundamentalist Christians now. That's true. If you're enjoying the conversation, hit a little like button. I'm enjoying chilling and just talking about whatever. Having a fun time. Dawkins has been one of the biggest disappointments. Dude is a biologist. I know! Like, the fact that he is anti-trans now, of all things, is so fucking stupid. Right now I'm 20 years old, but I mentally went through that transition. I loved the atheist thing, but slowly, as I became older than 15 years old and grew some empathy, it gave me really bad vibes. So I kept some of those values, but also SJW. Yeah. Thank you, D. I appreciate that. I feel like something similar happened with the online vegan community, too. Really? Tell me more. I don't know much about the online vegan community. Is it ableist to call conservatives fucking irredeemable voids of intelligence incapable of critical thought? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that that's ableist. Yeah, I value the ability to insult people for things that they'll actually be upset about. That's part of why I don't subscribe to a lot of those anti-ableist things. Like, I'm gonna call people stupid, because calling them, like, vacuous, they're not gonna feel insulted by that. I want people to feel insulted when I insult them. Biology is a big field, and PhDs don't make you not an idiot. Yeah, it's true. True. If religious institutions having to pay all tax, if they pay all tax, what happens to those primarily not Christian communities who can't afford to stay open? I don't really feel strongly about it. Like, I don't know. I just don't feel very strongly about, like, oh, we need to preserve smaller religions. Like, I don't know, man. Like, crowdfund for it or apply for 501c3 status. Like, prove that you are actually contributing to the community instead of just receiving tax-exempt status by default. You have to actually do things in the community that help, and then fill out the same fucking paperwork that any humanist organization has to fill out. Like, I'm not saying that you don't deserve tax-exempt status ever, that no church or synagogue ever deserves tax-exempt status, but just prove it. Like, you have to prove that you're doing something beneficial to the community. Jonathan, thank you for the $10 super chat. It's going to take it a minute to show up on the chat here. All right, you convinced me. Here's 10 bones. 10 bones. Thank you. That puts us at the halfway mark. If we get $50 more in donations, I will remove my hoodie and flex for you. I don't think we've had any merch sales in the last couple weeks, so I just want to bump that. If you're at all interested in getting, like, a mug or a pillow or a tank top or a nice hoodie. These hoodies are only 35 bucks. Most of the time when you get YouTuber hoodies, they cost like 60 bucks. So consider checking out the merch website. Link in the description. I think it's funny how the word deplorable was never a good word, but they've twisted it to mean something good for themselves. Meanwhile, none of the words in Social Justice Warrior are bad, but it was twisted to mean something bad. Yeah, like you're criticizing me for fighting for social justice. That's like why we started identifying with the term social justice warrior, because they invented it as an insult, but we were all like, yo, like there's the super chat finally came through. We were like, why are you, like, that's not an insult. It is a good thing to be a warrior for social justice. Like, that's a good thing. There is more of a delay now than there used to be, by the way. So if I'm ever, like, reading your chats late, it's because I increased the latency a little bit so that so that it can do closed captions automatically. But yeah, just to repeat, like, I don't think that no church deserves, or synagogue or whatever, I don't think that they should never be tax exempt, but I think that you should have to prove, just like a humanist church would have to prove, that they do community works and, like, have all of the money that you make be tracked and accountable. Like, it's the fact that religion gets preferential treatment on this that's part of the thing that annoys me. That, like, churches by default, just by virtue of being a church, or by virtue of being a synagogue, or by virtue of being a mosque, like, that there's an assumption that they should get tax exempt status. Like, no. Keep track of your money, keep track of your donations, keep track of how much, like, you're actually doing in the community, you know? Lux, you're a gosh dang humanist activist for human rights and equality. Bet you feel offended now? I know. How dare I be a humanist? To be fair, it's kind of the same thing now with anti-woke. People call me woke, and I'm like, oh wow, I feel so insulted. You said I actually give a shit about minorities' issues? Oh no. Yeah, I figured I'd turn on closed captioning. Sam is educating us about the split in the vegan community, saying, I haven't been paying close attention for a few years, and it's not as trendy now, but it used to be very SJW-ish, and then there was kind of a split, between the activist people and the weird spirituality people, and it-girl aesthetic girlies, and then eco-fascist people. Then the non-activist vegans all started making why I'm no longer vegan videos. Yeah. I was just talking with Jimmy Snow about vegans and how Cosmic Skeptic was like a really hardcore vegan, and then he found out that his health would not allow him to be vegan. But he used to be the kind of person who's like, there's no excuse. You can always be vegan. You know, there's no health reason why you shouldn't be vegan. And then has to just meekly go like, oh, I guess I'm gonna be eating meat now because I need to for my health reasons. Meanwhile, like, not apologizing for any of the vehement, like, nastiness. And I know not all vegans are like that. Like, there's a lot of you are much more normal. But that's interesting that there was like there used to be a much more cohesive community, and then it split up a bunch. Kaylin, welcome in. Yeah, Jimmy Snow as in Mr. Atheist. He runs the show The Line. I mentioned earlier that I have just been onboarded as I'm officially one of the hosts of the Transatlantic Call-In show now. So yeah, I was talking to Jimmy about the details of all that, and he's been my friend for like 7 years, so we also talked about other stuff, like vegans. He was like, I love ruining things for people, and one time I was talking to a vegan who was eating gummy bears, and I laughed so hard. Oh, man. Oh, that's funny. What's up, Gold? I love Mexi's videos on veganism from a leftist perspective, also ethereal for Spanish speakers. Cool. I saw on Twitter recently, and I may have already mentioned this on the show, I know that veganism is not the most hot topic, and I'm not planning on staying on it for very long, because I'm enjoying this kind of broader conversation about religion and stuff. But, this person posted, if you're an anarchist and not a vegan, then why? And I'm like, because human beings are animals, and we have a place in the ecosystem. The, the whole concept of anarchy is that we want to avoid unjustified hierarchy or unnecessary hierarchy. And I think you can very easily justify a hierarchy. Baby. You can very easily justify a hierarchy of eating other animals. Hi, baby. Are you ready for your spotlight? Are you ready for torture? I'm gonna torture you, right? Okay, you ready? Yes. Ah ha 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 ha! Where's big boy? Hello, big boy. Baby. He wanted to say hello. Do you remember the Animals Are Innocent music video? Nope, I do not. Baby. Say hello, everybody. This is Mitternacht. He is a void cat. Hello, big boy. They love getting smacked. He's looking away like, please put me down. Big boy. Okay, you can leave now. I love you very much. You're so good. Hey, you're so good. Thank you for indulging me, kitty kitty. Whoops. Just knocking my yarn off the desk. Whew. Yeah, now there's a lot who's done some mukbangs. I have such a tiny belly. I couldn't do mukbangs. Yeah, kitties love the smacks. The cat now runs the channel. It's true. He's in charge. Hit the like button for the cat. IDK SJWs are so tiresome. I know sometimes words have been used badly. But when a cake didn't rinse proper, my grandma would say it was retarded. We need to let words that have a broader spectrum still exist, even if they've been used as an insult. Yeah. What was another word like that recently? There was something recently. Good night, Kuro. There was some word recently that was like similar. Oh, narcissist. Narcissist. Like the term narcissist, so that I'm actually the opposite way around this word. The term narcissist predates the diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. But I do feel pretty strongly that saying the term narcissist casually has a negative stigma around like the currently existing diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. So, like, where this word didn't have a particular mental health stigma before, it does presently. Whereas, like, the term idiot, for example, used to be kind of a medicalized term. And now it is far away from that medicalized, like, context. So I don't think it makes sense to be like, oh, well, this is referring to a specific diagnosis, and therefore it increases the stigma against people who are idiots. Like, I don't, it's different for me. Yeah, and I'll repeatedly say on the subject of like veganism and animal, welfare and everything, I think that killing animals is not inherently a bad thing. I think factory farming and the way that we do that is overwhelmingly a bad thing. That's why we have bird flu. Like, that's why, I mean, when I say bird flu, yeah, we have bird flu partially because of the conditions that we keep chickens in. And then we take the chicken waste and, like, feed it to other animals. And then, of course, you end up with cows that have bird flu because they're literally eating chicken shit. Because the process of factory farming, they're like, oh, well, we can't have any waste. Every part of this process is going to be, we're gonna like use all of this. Like, you could compost it. You could do many other things. You could do many, many, many other things with it. I gotta drink some water, babes. Someone got onto me for saying the word spooky. Oh my god, I've seen that. People, like, during Halloween time, they're like, you shouldn't say spooky because the word spook has racial connotations. Like, not the fuck anymore. Not anymore. Not anymore. How old are you? If you're trying to say, like, oh, we need to stop saying spooky because it refers to something racial, like, are you 100 years old? Like, this is not, it's been completely divorced from that context at this point. God, this is what I mean about, like, social justice warriors. Love the piercings. How bad did they hurt? I don't think they hurt terribly when I got my snake bites done. I got them done when I was 16, and now I'm 30, so it's been, like, a while. But the only thing I really remember hurting about them was the first day that I got them. I originally had captive beads, as you do. So it's a ring, and then you have a bead that kind of just pops in and then pops out of this, it's held captive. That's why it's called a captive bead. And the beads had, like, rotated into my mouth, because they always do. That first day that I got them, I pulled them around, and it hurt so bad because it was dry. And then I just was way more careful for the rest of the time that I had them. Like, if I needed to adjust them, I would, like, get it wet on the outside and then rotate it through. That was the only thing that really sucked. Like, actually getting the piercing done was extremely easy. Like, I hardly remember it hurting at all. I haven't gotten very many piercings, though. I got my main ear piercings, and that's the only piercings I had at the time. I got those, and then I got my snake bites, and then only a couple years ago I got my second pair of lobes done. And I got my belly button pierced in the meantime there. Do the holes expand like ear piercings? I mean, I'm sure that I could expand them, but I have no reason to do that. D. So glad I finally caught you live while I'm at my desk. So glad this is the convo. We're having a great convo. I'm very much enjoying the chill time. How long did it take for them to chill out? I think the normal amount of time. I got them done for my birthday, not necessarily on my birthday, but I got them done, like, at the end of March. I was in my sophomore year of high school, I believe. And then, like, I went and finished my semester of high school, and I don't really remember it being an issue. They weren't really inflamed. Of course, they were crusty. They were, like, crusted on the outside for a while, but yeah, it was very tolerable. Of course, I was 16, so I probably healed better then than I would now as a 30-year-old person. Does water come out of the piercing holes when you use mouthwash? If I'm trying really, really hard to force water through, then yes. But she asked me when I got them pierced, are you going to be wearing hoops or are you going to be wearing posts? And I told her I was going to be wearing posts, that I was going to be wearing hoops. And she was like, okay, because that changes how they're going to heal, and it changes, like, how I'm going to pierce them. So the holes aren't straight because they healed with a hoop inside. So if I'm like, if I'm really like forcing liquid through, then it will ooze out, but it's not spectacular. I understand there are a few words that we should avoid due to direct messed up stuff that has happened in history. Most words, though, learn to be more like rubber and less like glue. Yeah. Like, I can understand some of the criticisms around the word retarded because it was a medical term and it has been used against people with Down syndrome, like, in living memory. Like, there are people who are currently alive who were told, like, this patient is too retarded, they need to be sterilized, for example. Like, so, like, I get that one more, and I do use it way less than I used to. The worst one I heard was when I was chastised for saying, you can't put up blinders to this issue because that would be insulting to the blind. Blinders are a tool for horses. Yeah, I think saying something like, how could you be so blind in this situation? I feel like you're really, you don't have real problems if you're taking issue with these things. I recently unfollowed someone on Twitter for saying that if you use language like that, then, or like if you're calling people stupid or whatever, then you're participating in the eugenicist project of Western society. And I was like, okay, sorry, but you're fucking retarded, and I'm gonna move on and never have to listen to any of the stupid shit you say ever again. You know, like in the midst of an actual genocide on multiple different fronts. I do also agree with changing the name for Asperger's syndrome. Yeah, because of the Nazi connotations, for sure. It is still being used as a medical term. On a forum a while back, I was asked if I had any form of mental retardation. Yeah, like medical, yeah. Queer used to be a pejorative for LGBTQ folks, and now it's a shorthand umbrella term for the community, redefining words of their power to hurt people. And it's context dependent, right? If a pastor who's giving a homophobic sermon says, these queers, I'm like, haha, I'm in danger. But it's also the official word for, if you go to college and you learn about this stuff, you're going to go to a queer studies class. Context. Amazing. Like, it turns out that some words are not universally bad. Like, it's not like bad in every situation. Speaking of annoying people online, is anybody else's feed on YouTube filled up with stuff from RGR and Progressive Victory? No, I haven't seen any of it on YouTube. Shell shock became PTSD. Yeah? I was diagnosed with Asperger's. Yeah, and it's also kind of silly that Asperger's exists as a term to distinguish like severe autism from more mild autism, and it just feels like making that distinction, I don't know, is not very useful. Pretty sure the Nazi connotations did not actually influence the name change for Asperger's. The field just evolved its understanding of autism as a spectrum that Asperger's is a part of. Yeah, I didn't really look into it super closely. I assumed, I guess, that like, yeah, because what was his name? What was the first name? Was it Joseph Asperger? I don't know. But yeah, he like did experiments on people in the Nazi camps. So like, I get it. That makes sense why you wouldn't want to continue using Hans. Thank you. Hans Asperger. You wouldn't want to continue associating that with autistic people. Like, basically, as I understand it, the term Asperger's kind of originally evolved as a way of distinguishing the retarded people who we could put to work versus the retarded people that we're going to euthanize. Like, that's what the distinction kind of was. So it makes sense to me that you would want to get away from the term Asperger's. Is RGR autistic? I don't know, man. I don't know. I am annoyed that she just waited a couple years and then is like infiltrating the progressive left again. It's fucking annoying. Never gonna forgive her for pedo jacketing dough. Yes, I do have the neurodivergence. Quick poll in the chat. You don't have to be diagnosed, okay? I just want to get like a general vibe. Press 1 if you are autistic or suspect you are autistic, and 2 if you're pretty sure that you're not. I'm just curious in the chat right now. 1 if yes, 2 if no. Oh, we're at 69 likes? Hell yes! Nice. There are secondary and tertiary definitions for a reason, and some words mean the opposite of themselves, such as cleave. Yeah. It's always fun. Oh my god, so many ones. In the process of getting assessed. We have 1, 2. Hey Emma, how's it going? It's gonna be a 95-5 split. Yeah. I think I come across really abrasive, but only to non-autistic people. Like, autistic people seem to just pretty universally enjoy my company. So it makes sense that so many of you are hitting the 1. I plead the 5th. Not autistic, but very ADHD. Sure. Death died today. Welcome to the website. What about ADHD? I'm just asking about autism for now, but like I do think that ADHD is like a cousin to autism. They're not the same thing, but they're like cousins. One of us, true. We flock together, absolutely. Birds of neurodivergent feathers. Little autistic baby birds. I'm not autistic, but I have PTSD. Listen, PTSD can change your brain wiring to basically make you neurodivergent. Like, it is known to be like an acquired neurodivergence. If you have both autism and ADHD, you can unleash a special combo attack. Combo breaker. My family has that whole ADHD thing going on, so if I was evaluated and was found to be on the spectrum, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I spent like more than 10 years of my life saying, oh, I'm pretty sure I'm autistic, and constantly like vibing with autistic people, constantly running into the same social issues that autistic people do. And like, yeah, at a certain point, I was just like, I'm going to stop hedging. I'm going to stop saying I'm 98% sure. I'm just going to start living my life like I am autistic. And things make a lot more sense. You know? Like, oh yeah, it makes sense why I'm experiencing this situation. I have commonly heard other autistic people describing this exact same social difficulty. So like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I feel like Progressive Victory is going to do more sus stuff. I do not trust RGR or Brianna Wu. Truly, don't blame you. Big thing I found between autistic people and non-autistic people in this conversation. For example, autistic people can jump straight into the deep and weird convos, but most non-autistic people require some social lube before they become ready for that. Yeah, there's just so much, it's just so much easier when you're conversing with people who just, their brains work the same as yours. And then, like, the non-autistic people who are willing to, like, adjust communication to match and meet in the middle. Because, like, obviously I do have to adjust my communication style when I'm talking to people who aren't autistic. But it's like the meeting in the middle that so many allistics are not willing to do. ND people tend to move in packs like poorly emotionally regulated wolves. Have you heard the theory that cats are basically autistic and that's why people don't understand them? It's pretty interesting. Yeah, I don't think that cats literally are autistic, but I do think that if there were an analogous thing going on, that would be fair. You know, that it's again that thing about, are you going to take the time to understand their body language? It seems like allistic people kind of reflexively understand dogs better. And like the kind of people who don't like cats are people who are unwilling to adjust to things like you have to ask a cat for permission to pet them if they don't know you. You have to let them smell you first. You should pay attention to their tail to find out what kind of mood they're in. And like there are a lot of subtle tiny muscles in their face that do indicate different moods. And like, so I don't think that cats are literally autistic, but I do think that it is a good sort of metaphor to describe how allistic people refuse to learn the body language and the like way of communicating that autistic people have. And like they just expect the cat to act like a dog, and then when they don't, they're like, oh, I hate cats. Oh, cats are awful. And then they just give up trying because they're not interested in, you know, making those communication adjustments. Cats have traits that we interpret as similar to autism because they aren't as forward as dogs and they get stressed when routine is broken. True. True. I've been living my life like you're autistic too. Newfoundland. I was looking for shoes for people that like walking on the balls of their feet and only then found out that that is an autistic trait. Yeah, you should get some, maybe not Vibram brand, but like the toe shoes. They're so good. I love them so much. I actually don't have a pair of Vibrams right now, which kind of sucks. Maybe I should put that on my wish list and get a new pair of Vibram 5 fingers. I am literally an autistic dog. True. I think people don't understand dogs either, though. Many people abuse dogs and don't treat them right. Yeah. You should always let an animal approach you first unless it's necessary to touch or grab them immediately, like for vet visits. Yeah, that's fair. I could see that. Every time I meet a new cat, I basically just let it know I exist. My Riz will bring it to me eventually. Like, yeah, they'll come to you. They make special shoes. It's not like these were made for people who like walking on their toes, but they are comfortable for people who walk on their toes. Let me pull up the website. This is the brand that I was wearing for a really long time, and you know, your mileage may vary. You might want a different brand. Also, if you start wearing toe shoes and you start like trying to run and stuff in them, you might injure yourself because these shoes require you to build your muscles in your feet. So yeah, they separate the toes into little individual pockets. And I love them. And so it makes it easy for you to walk more on the front of your foot. Cats always chill near me because I don't try to chase them down. Yeah, cats are lovely. When you just learn how to interact with them, they're so nice. I saw like a TikTok or something recently where it was a guy and a girl and they met a cat outside, and it was like how cats react to my girl versus how they react to me. And the guy reaches over and just starts trying to pet the cat, and the cat like leans away and swats at him. And then the girl, like the girlfriend, lets the cat sniff her, and then it rubs its face against her hand because obviously, yeah, like obviously they don't like you. You keep trying to touch them without even saying hello. How's your day? Therapy was rough this morning, and then I kind of just spent a lot of the rest of my day trying to recover from that. So that's why we're not doing any specific segments tonight. We're just kind of chilling and talking about whatever. not to Shane Dawson myself, but I'm pretty sure the riz that makes all cats like me eventually is also why so many of my partners are autistic. Could be, could be. Minimalist shoes have a similar effect, forcing you to build foot muscles. Yeah, I used to call regular shoes hoofs. Like, yeah, I'm gonna clop around in my hoofs today because my hooves, yeah, they just, ugh, they're not comfortable. I prefer to be able to feel the ground and like you can feel the edges of stairs. We love toe shoes in this house. I will often prp at cats when I see them, but not approach unless if they close the distance. Like, hey, prp, cuties. And of course, I've had my cat for like, he's been living with us for like 10 years or so, and he does the little prp when you come out in the morning. He's not allowed in the bedroom at night, so he's like, hey, and you're like, hi, baby. I think the autistic/allistic divide is less pronounced in rock/goth/alt circles because everyone is considered weird by the mainstream anyway. I wonder how many non-autistic goths there are. I view like the whole goth thing as being like, first of all, it's gender. It's non-binary. It's its own gender thing. But then also because of it being its own gender thing, I view it as kind of being like a neurodivergent space as well. I'm so curious. Y'all are probably familiar with the concept that there's a pretty high degree of overlap between transgender identity and autism. Like, many trans people are autistic, and also a good number of autistic people are trans. I'm curious what the numbers are specifically for non-binary gender, because I would guess that the numbers of correlation are even higher. Like, I would imagine that there is an even higher number of non-binary people who are autistic and vice versa. Growing up in a home with cats, most of my precious possessions have been pissed on by them. That typically indicates a health issue. It's not, I mean, it can be a behavioral issue, but most of the time it indicates like that there's an untreated UTI or something. There's probably like only one non-autistic goth person. Goth and kink community is full of autistic people. Yeah. Because it's about like bucking social trends, or just like not understanding social trends, or not being willing to be subject to social trends, right? I love that you knew the sounds. Of course I know the sounds. I grew up with cats. I don't even know that there has been any significant chunk of time in my life where I've not had a cat living with me. I'm pretty sure maybe there was a time where I lived with my dad where we like rehomed a cat, and like temporarily didn't have cats in the house, but literally, like, I genuinely cannot remember any significant period of time in my life where I haven't had cats living with me. The kink community is about fucking social trends. True. Absolutely true. I feel like the speed at which autism is showing up in the population is practically proof that it's being actively selected by our genome for being better for the future. Honestly, like, I think that we do social cohesion better in a lot of ways. There was, I was watching something recently. It was kind of taking the piss a bit, but it was basically like there are two different kinds of functional empathy, and autistic people are good at both, but allistic people are not good at one of them. I can't remember what it was, though. Like, that whole thing where we tell stories to empathize, and then like allistic people are like, why are you making this conversation about you? And you're like, I'm explaining by saying like, I've been through something similar. That's my way of saying I understand how you feel right now, you know? So like the like different forms of empathizing that I don't know, I just think we're better at certain things. It's been 10 years since I had a cat of someone's where I lived. That feels weird. You should get a cat because cats reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease by like 40%. So I feel like if my present cat passes away or if something happens where I'm not living with a cat, like that's like a problem I need to solve in an immediate sense for health reasons. I consider transness another form of neurodivergence almost. I could see that. I've been told there is, quote, an autistic understanding of gender, but I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, I don't know what that would mean exactly. The Toxoplasma gondii is strong. We serve the cat. The cat is good. We are good. We pet the cat. The cat loves to brush the cat. True. My cat actually doesn't like being brushed, but that's because he is disgusting and he has a bunch of knots in his fur all the time. Yeah, sometimes when I'm upset, I just go bury my face in the cat's belly. I'm just like, and like, it helps regulate my body. Zarinia, welcome to the website. It's been 3 weeks since you looked at me. True. I'm in the middle of my show. I'm not gonna Google the sources for the cardiovascular issues claim. Maybe we can do that later, but apply cat directly to the forehead. True. Like, it's something that I've seen previously and I've read about previously. Maybe the 40% number is not exactly correct, but like having like yeah, they lower your blood pressure. That's like one of the mechanisms, and having lower blood pressure means that your cardiovascular health is better. Weird how we don't talk about pets when discussing symbiotic relationships between animals. Yeah. I guess I've never really thought about that before. Maybe we just think that our human behavior is like normal and like we don't feel a need to study the reasons why we want to have animals around us. But it is like they have a positive impact on our health and we take care of them and they live longer lives the more we take care of them. And y'all want a kitten? Hit me up. No. Oh, kitten season. The temptation is always so strong. My big cat had a lot of knots, but that was because he was a very fluffy boy and was a magnet for every seed head in a 5-mile radius. Yeah, my cat was raised by a dog, so he does not know how to clean himself. And also he's very large, so he cannot reach. Yeah, 30% less likely to die of a heart attack might have been the statistic that I caught up on. I want a kitten, but the problem is I am poor and could not afford to take it to the vet. Yeah, most cats, thankfully, kind of don't need a lot of veterinary care. Dogs groom themselves. It's different. They don't groom themselves as much as cats do. Heart attacks can be caused by stress, and cats can reduce stress. Yeah, like having a cat reduces blood pressure, and it can help you regulate your stress. I mean, that's like why I like having a cat a lot of the time, is like you just go love on them and it regulates your body and it brings things down. Toads are good pets. Are they? Hey, Emily, what's up? I have been... things are going. I think that's pretty much what I'll say about how I've been lately. Things are going. Work is going. Chores are going. Your mileage may vary, but I low-key was driven insane by my cats. Yeah, I mean, if it's like if I had a cat that was stealth bombing me from the top of the refrigerator, we might have a different situation. But I've pretty much always had cats that are chill. But also, most of the cats that I've had have been cats that, like, I raised them from a fairly young age. Like, they were born to me, or we got them when they were very young. And so, because of that, you can kind of help form their personality in a way. It's like getting a puppy and training it, you know? If you get an older dog, that dog might have separation anxiety and might eat all of your stuff, or might piss all over your stuff. Like, yeah. I'm sure if I got an older cat, there might be more likelihood that it would be... like, that it would have behavioral issues or whatever. Floof is an amazing name. What a great name for a cat. Floof. Might sound weird, but I'd need a chill cat at this point in my life. My guys were always just little orange rascals. See, I would not get an orange cat, because orange cats are stupid and they're troublemakers. Like, almost universally. I would not have an orange cat. I also think, like, so if there wasn't like a UTI issue, if you have cats that are peeing all over stuff, either they have a UTI or they're like stressed. You know, cats do have behavioral expressions of stress. If you don't have enough cat boxes, like, really you need to have at least one cat box for each cat, and you should ideally have one extra for, like, so if you have 2 cats, you should probably have 3 different litter boxes. And yeah, if one of them is punking the other one pretty often, that causes stress, and then they're gonna like behaviorally act out or whatever. I thought orange cats were nice and docile. They tend to be kind of dumb. We had litter boxes, they just refused to use them. Yeah, then they were stressed by something. Like, that's not normal. I've always thought about a black cat, because all the black cats I've met were chill. They can also be stressed by your human behavior as well. Like, I don't know. Maybe you just got a bad cat, I don't know. Of course, my black cat is chill, but he's also, like, enormous. So he kind of can't get in trouble. People are like, oh, my cat got into my plants. And I'm like, my cat is too fat to, like, jump up. Urinary crystals from dry food. Yeah. Yeah, male cats especially have, like, urinary problems. from being dehydrated all the time. So what are your favorite cats? Do I have favorites? I I enjoy many cats. I've rarely met a cat that I don't like. Even if that cat doesn't want to be my friend, I'm like, you're good. You're doing exactly what cats should do. You're my favorite, and I love you very much. When I was little, so I was like 3 years old, why was I being let to walk around the neighborhood by myself when I was 3 years old? I don't know, but I picked up a black cat who he like his ears were all messed up and like folded down. His tail had been cut in half. Like clearly he'd not been treated very well. And I just picked him up and like carried him home. Like 3-year-old person. And my grandparents were like, what the fuck? And then, yeah, we ended up keeping him. He did scratch me once, but even then I felt like, okay, that was justified. Even when I was a toddler, I was like, okay, learned a lesson, respect the cat. You should keep fresh water in both ends of the house. They drink a lot more water that way. My cat right now, he used to complain a lot. He's like, I need you to put fresh water in the bowl, clean the bowl of water. And then we got him a fountain, and he's so much less annoying now. It's just like a thing. The water circulates, and he's much happier now. He complains a lot less now. But this is also why it's good to integrate wet food into the diet. Because, yeah, cats, kidney problems, especially like kidney failure, excuse me, from not drinking enough water. That's how you get cats. They just pop into your life. It's the way of things. It's just funny because this, like, he was a very, like, scarred, not happy, I mean, yeah, he was clearly, like, a happy cat eventually, but, like, it's just so funny because he looked so mean. But I was just, like, a little baby, and I was just carrying him around, and he was letting me do that. The cat distribution system. Kind of wish that I had a water fountain to drink from, or maybe a hose from my sink to my face. Yeah, that would be convenient, for sure. Yeah. Cats are silly little guys. They're silly little weirdos. The cat clearly sensed your good, innocent vibes. A lot of animals are chill around toddlers because they understand that they're babies. Obviously, so long as you're not pulling on their tail or like pulling their ears or anything. And yeah, he just seemed to be very understanding. It's so funny. I barely remember him, and it was literally like 30 years ago, but so fun. When I was 3 to 5 years old, I played with a fox that lived in the woods near my grandma's house. Apparently, when I told my mom about it, she thought that I just had a very active imagination. She was later laughing about it around family one time, and then my grandma was like, no, that fox is Sam's friend. And my mom was so mad, and my grandma could not understand why. She was trying to tell a fun story about how you made something up, and then she was proven wrong. People hate that. I've debated mounting a water reservoir into the mini fridge next to my desk and then installing a hose port for on-demand cold water. Yeah, just one of those like I'm just gonna dispense some water into my cup real fast. I want to get my steps in, though. I want to walk to the kitchen and fill my water. Does Lux have innocent vibes now? It seems more like chaotic vibes to me. Listen, do you think chaos is is incompatible with innocence. The alignment chart includes a box that says chaotic good. That's me. I'm a good bean. I'm so nice. Chaotic cozy, yeah. Oh, maybe annoyed that like, oh, you've been letting her play with a wild fox, maybe. Thank you for that update, Rainbow Sprinkles. I did see that. A grand jury decided not to indict on the felony charge for those Ohio protesters who were wearing masks. Yeah. I still think that that has a chilling effect on people trying to wear masks at protests, but it is good that they didn't end up convicting them of a fucking felony for wearing a mask while protesting. Ow. Some people do get mad when you reverse their making fun of you. It'd be more funny if it wasn't often the parents doing it. True. Am I a good... Yeah, I'm a good bean. Does being an adult preclude me from innocence? You're right. I'm not a virgin anymore. I can't be innocent. I remember telling jokes on purpose as a little kid, and then my mom would tell them to her friends as if I was being funny on accident. The infantilization is not very fun. This is the only place where we can chill talking about kittens for 40 plus minutes. Listen, I refuse to talk about anything serious today, all right? I had a very difficult time this morning, and I had weird dreams last night, and you can't make me. My controversial D&D take is that chaotic good is more good than lawful good. Like, the whole alignment chart is actually slanted with lawful being lower than the others. Yeah, because if you're lawful good, then you will follow the rules even if they are unjust. Whereas a chaotic good person is willing to very much break the rules. What do you think about dream interpretations? So we talked about this recently. I think if you're having a recurring dream, then maybe there's something that you're processing. A lot of the time, brains are just doing random processing of, like, what you did today. And your brain is just sorting information and going, okay, this we're going to put in long-term memory, this we can discard. So a lot of the times, dreams don't have any serious meaning. But, you know, if you're having recurrent dreams where, like, you can't speak, or like you try to speak and no sound comes out, or you're too quiet, that probably indicates that you are feeling unheard in your real life. Like, it is your brain processing information. So yeah, if you're having consistent dreams, like mine are like, I have consistent dreams where people are doing things that are obviously upsetting, and then they're ignoring me when I try to advocate for myself. So, like, obviously, I feel like I have issues that are not getting solved, you know? 99% of my dreams are just lewd. Oh, no. Parents need to realize that they need to be careful when teasing their kids. It hits different when you are in any sort of superior position to the other person. Yeah. Like, my mom used to make uncomfortable remarks in the teasing that was not good. Like, sometimes a parent says something and they don't mean it seriously, but you still think about it 20 years later. Lux, that's just being trans. Yeah. If I have dreams where I can't find a bathroom, that probably is indicative of my anxiety over public restrooms as a trans person, you know? Mersh pointed that out previously. My 12-year-old self wondering why I keep dreaming about being the opposite gender. Absolutely. So yeah, a lot of the time I would say like dreams are just kind of random, but if you're getting recurrent themes, like I've been dreaming about my mom a lot lately. And like again, TLDR, she was abusive. And I don't talk to her and I haven't talked to her in a long time. But like why do I don't know exactly. I haven't figured out exactly why I keep dreaming about her. Maybe it's because like being in like a parental role has got me thinking about my parents more or something. I don't know. It's been weird though. My dad called me a pedophile at my 18th birthday despite him having called me pedo bait at my 17th, and that's why I'm glad we don't talk anymore. I would not be talking to that person either, for sure. No wonder you moved. If I expressed discomfort with my family members teasing me and making me uncomfortable, they would get angry at me and tell me I was taking it too personally. Right. That's the kind of thing that leads to you having dreams about people ignoring you when you're trying to advocate for yourself. Like, you're trying to be like, this is bothering me. And then they fucking pull out the narcissist prayer. And they're like, well, I didn't even do that. Well, if I did do that, that's not too bad. And if it is bad, then that's your fault. You know, like, Jesus Christ. For you, it was a traumatic childhood experience that defined your CPTSD. For me, it was Tuesday. Yeah, the phrase, the tree remembers, but the axe forgets. I think a lot of us have those kind of relationships with our parents as well, where, yeah, of course you don't remember. You're not the person who was hurt in that situation. I remember because it hurt, and that made it stand out. My family would make really uncomfortable remarks about my body as I was going through puberty and was already very uncomfortable due to dysphoria. Yeah. Ugh. Keep having dreams that are about some sort of danger, but only I and maybe a few others take it seriously. I wonder if that's relevant to like COVID or the fact that we as the trans community are being targeted and most people don't seem to even know about it, much less care. Ew, imagine telling your teenager that they look sexy when they're wearing a swimsuit. What the fuck? That's really, really gross. Ugh. Stuck living with my parents at age 28 and they're Trump cultists. Whew. Listen, if you run a GoFundMe, we'll post it in the Discord. I gotta drink more water. We're at the 2-hour mark on a chill stream. I doubt we're gonna get to 100 likes, but if you haven't already hit the like button, consider doing so. Ugh. This is my emotional support water bottle, and I need to wash it. Lux, we have much bigger problems. There are bigots in the UK who have to see rainbow lanyards sometimes. Think of the real victims. I know. Terrible. Yeah, I've been having dreams about my mom a lot lately, and dreams where, like, I mean, usually I'm just, like, telling her off and telling her to get away from me, and sometimes threatening her with violence. Which I guess, you know, I guess that sort of, you could see it as an expression of I'm exerting power over situations where I previously didn't have power. Because, like, I'm taller than my mom. I think that's one of the reasons why the physical abuse stopped at a certain point. Because she would be like, she was like holding my wrist at one point when I was trying to leave her house, and I was like, you will let me go. Like, I'm bigger than you now. This is not, You know, I'm not just like a kid that you can smack around or whatever. Like, if we get violent, I'm getting violent back. um, so yeah, typically when she's in one of my dreams, I'm establishing boundaries with her, and I'm like threatening her to get her to stay away from me and stuff like that. So I guess that's kind of a good thing. I mean, obviously, it's not like I don't have like violent ideation. I'm not like I'm trying to get into a physical fight with somebody, but like I have a much greater willingness now that if someone is trying to harm me, like I have a much greater willingness to retaliate. And then yeah, like maybe that's showing me that I have much more control and mastery over my childhood trauma at the very minimum, even though I have like other more recent traumas like fear of abandonment trauma. I still have dreams where like I wake up gasping because I'm being abandoned. I have like more body horror trauma because of my IUD placement, and I'm gonna have to talk to my therapist about trying to work through that. Lux is just a little guy, but not a little kid. I don't even know if I count as just a little guy. I have so much more willingness to violence than people who I think of as, I'm just a little guy, I'm just a birthday boy. Like, no. No. I am actually kind of mean. I'm oddly alone in all my dreams. Is that a good thing? Do you feel like that's a good thing? I heard something about the UK holding a general election. I don't know what that implies, because your government doesn't really make any sense to me. The UK government does not make much sense to me. Gremlin energy, violent and mean. True. Don't feed me after midnight. I'm actually not actively very mean. I just am willing to be mean in a way that I perhaps didn't used to be. Because I used to not be willing to defend myself. And so, of course, like, I think of standing up for myself as being mean because I've been trained not to stand up for myself. Ugh, I'm pretty lonely, IRL. Not really. Oh my god. Lux is like Bart in the Simpsons movie. Jabbity jab jab jab. But with a knife instead of the stick. I do have a knife. TBH, I don't understand USA politics. Listen, I only understand it out of necessity. And even then, I don't always understand it. I'm orc moding. It's like goblin moding, but I'm getting buff and ready to march to war. We're $50 short of the stream goal, but I will show off the orc moding that I'm doing. I guess I'm kind of orc moding, it's true. Yeah, I'm trying to get big beefy buff boy. Muscle mommy hours. I hate abs. I hate working abs, but I have to. Most of my repetitive dreams are just trying to escape hospitals or an abandoned warehouse after a disaster. I can probably guess why. Ugh, yeah. Bad hospital experiences. So in this general election, every seat in Parliament is going to go up for a vote, and with polling being where it is, the UK is set to have the Labour Party have an absolute landslide win, which would end up replacing the Prime Minister and the entire cabinet. Yeah, I mean, Labour is also not great, from what I understand. They're kind of sliding central, like sliding to the center, but it is good at least that you won't have a primarily conservative government over there. If you're transitioning between Goblin and Orc, it's clearly Uruking, if you will. Oh god, we just watched the theatrical versions. They're so good. Although it turns out that almost everything that is my favorite about Lord of the Rings is in the extended versions. Like, Faramir has this line, hold on, like, Faramir quotes. Sure. Like, when we first meet Faramir... I can... Ooh, can I find it? Where is it? Give it. Give. want to find it. Ah! Come on. The scene with the skulls falling out of the wall, that huge practical effects scene. I know I was introducing them to someone who had never seen them before, and you have to start with the theatrical version. You have to start that with the theatrical version. So in the movies, this is a quote from Faramir, but in the book, it is a thought that Sam has. But so in the movie, he says, "The enemy, his sense of duty was no less than yours, I deem. You wonder what his name is, where he came from, and if he was really evil at heart. What lies or threats led him on this long march from home, if he would rather not have stayed there in peace. War will make corpses of us all." It's like, that's in the extended version. I was looking forward to it in the theatrical version, and then it just wasn't there. You just have to get people in with the theatrical version. If you're watching it for the very first time, listen, you can't watch I can't watch the Two Towers as someone who loves Lord of the Rings. I can barely watch the Two Towers extended version. It is not paced well. Like, it does not do a good job of, like, doing this, like, ebb and flow, push and pull. But yeah, there's so much good stuff in there that's only in the extended versions. Billy Boyd got second birthday. Yeah, I just learned that. I repeat, if they cannot survive extended edition, they are not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Baby Squid says, "I personally am looking forward to hating a whole new bunch of assholes in 6 weeks' time, possibly." Yeah, after the general election over in the UK there. Where is Saruman? Theatrical version, where is he? Yeah, we miss Saruman's death. He just kind of, like, he just is nowhere at the end. They don't really address it at all. I always cry when I watch The Lord of the Rings. I always cry. Considering they took an hour of the movie to tell less than 2 pages in the book with Helm's Deep, the rest was a bit cramped. Sure, yeah. It's just, yeah. I'm not saying that the story is bad or anything. It's just, like, the way that the extended version goes in the Two Towers, they did not do a very good job. Even when they added these new scenes in, there's huge parts of it that just feels like a slog. Labor's leader is just aiming for Tory light and sacking all leftist pretense whatsoever. Yeah, it's not like it's gonna be much better. Y'all are dealing with the same thing over there in the UK as we're dealing with here, which is that our left party, quote unquote, is actually a centrist party, and they don't even pretend to pay lip service to any actual leftist views. Nerd celebratory. I'm a big nerd. Listen, I love Frodo. Like, and Sir Ian McKellen as well as Gandalf. Like, ugh. Frodo's just a little guy. He's just a little guy, and he shoulders a responsibility far beyond what he should have had to, and he loses himself in it, and he is changed forever by his experiences, such that he can never go back to what he was originally. And it is so sad. Like, I love him so much. Like, I'm not kidding. I cry. I will cry if I talk about it too much. So sad. Fellowship feels very brisk to me. Two Towers very slow, and Return of the King is great up to at least its third ending, and I love them all. Yeah. You do keep feeling like, uh-oh, There's another ending. Uh-oh, is it over? Uh-oh. Himjack, thank you so much. For the $50 dono, they said ST Moopity, I have nothing to say, noises. Moopity, 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 moopity. Thank you very much. That means that we can flex. Ooh. Thank you. Very, very much appreciated. Come back to me, chat. Where did you go? Hey, theatrical version, are there any scenes with Boromir and Faramir together that are crucial to understanding their relationship? Listen, I know. Is your logo on screen meant to resemble the agender flag, or you just vibe with the sick colors? It is a gender flag. Thank you for picking up on that. I don't think most people do. I'm non-binary, but agender. I am no gender. I refuse the gender. So that is what the goal is of the color scheme. I also thought, before I flex, I just have to say this. I also thought, I hadn't really paid attention to it before, but Boromir, the way that he speaks about the hobbits and how protective he is of them, you know, he's like, they've taken the little ones. And it's like, that is character indicating the, like, his big brotherness and him being a good big brother, you know? Like, oh God, it's so good. Return of the King's final ending always does make me cry because Frodo is basically killing himself. I don't think he's, like, killing himself, but he is, like, accepting that he cannot ever fully return to his life, which is sad. I wonder how long it's going to take before the arms start actually substantively looking bigger. Because, like I said, I'm pushing this bulk right now. Like, I'm really, like, pushing to failure as much as I can. So we're gonna have, like, hopefully some growth. I don't know, man. When Theoden wakes up and realizes his son is dead, I am always big crying. I know. And then, like, this is another one of those things. It's like the positive representation of masculinity as well. That he's, like, crying. He's like, no parent should ever live to bury their child. Like, should ever live to bury their child. And then, like, he collapses and is, like, crying. Bernard Hill. I think it definitely shows. I've only done, like, a little bit of bulking so far, to be honest. So, I keep making the mistake of only taking nudes to show muscle progress. Makes it hard to brag. Yeah, I see you posting. Every time you post a picture on Blue Sky, I'm like, I can't even, I would have to click to see it, because it's, like, adult content. Thank you. I know, I love wearing tank tops. I do think I look cute in them. They show off my arms so much. Insert vague thirsting. Listen, $5 on the Fansly if you want to see more full body, cute, hot outfit thirst trap pictures. Womp, womp, womp. It is them basically sailing off to elf heaven, which is kind of like dying. I guess. Bulk maxing, true. Aragorn at his coronation singing while flower petals fall around him is so hot. Yeah. Yeah, my partner and I were like, we are always gonna cry at that scene where, like, everybody bows to the hobbits. It's like, they're the real heroes. So sad. It's not, like, sad exactly, but it does make me cry. I've not watched Lord of the Rings. Anytime Boromir is brought up, I just think of the Tom Cardy song where he's called an asshole. Oh, I haven't heard that. Bad Ash in the YouTube chat says, hey, nudes are excellent for showing progress. Off-topic trans joy moment. I am finally getting some small results from pumping and trying to stimulate breast milk production. I can't try feeding the baby until I go off of the medicine, but I am getting closer. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'll get to help out my wife some. Absolutely. Because, yeah, your wife is going to go back to work in a little while, right? Like in a couple of months. So if you can get yourself to normal levels of production, then yeah, for sure. That's so cool. When Sam picks up Frodo, though, I'm such a big cry and happy and heart explode. I know. Ah. Anybody who calls Boromir an asshole fundamentally misunderstood the character. Yeah, or maybe only watched the theatrical version. I feel like in the theatrical version you could maybe come away with the impression that he's an asshole, but I think you would be, even then, you're still having to ignore some pretty critical components of his character. And like the fact that the ring is like a psychic damage. Like the ring does psychic damage to you. It gets in your mind and it twists you, and you are not yourself. Like, how could you watch these movies and see what's going on with Gollum and not understand that you are not yourself when you're in possession of the ring? Like, it is not even you. And then for him to, like, when he snaps out of it because the ring is far enough away that it lets go of him, and then, like, he starts crying, and he's like, I am so shamed. I feel so terrible. Like, yeah, Boromir, good character. Good guy. Absolutely. The Tom Cardy song is hilarious. Tom acts out Tolkien pitching the story to publishers and puts it into song form. 10 out of 10, def recommend. That reminds me of the pitch meetings by Ryan George on YouTube. Bit over 6 weeks till she goes back. Good God. Shout out to your wife. I don't know if she's still here in the chat, but like, damn. Going back to work after what is essentially a major surgery. I know that she didn't have a C-section, but still, like, it's effectively the same as a major surgery, and then going back to work in 2 months. Fuck. Crazy. I don't remember what scenes are not in the theatrical version anymore. It's been so long. Yeah. It's worth it to watch every once in a while. Are you lefty or is camera off center? Your left arm looked maybe a little bigger than your right. So the camera is off center. Like, can I even... Like, this is me trying to be even, but the fucking microphone thing is in the way. Like... Now they're a bit more even. But I do also think that my left arm tends to be bigger for some reason. Not in my forearms. My right forearm is bigger, but my left bicep tends to be bigger. Excuse me. The burps are so real. My left arm is my stabilizing arm. Like, strength and stabilization. My right hand is my, like, writing hand and, like, other fine stuff that I have to do. Although my left hand is capable of doing a lot more fine-tuned stuff than I think a lot of other people is because I grew up playing instruments that required, like, delicate finger movements. Oh, geez. Wonder if the archery is going to start to show. I haven't been to shoot in, like, a week or two because it's been super windy and stormy. I did think about going today, but I think I just need to go earlier in the morning. Do you try to even them out when working out? Yeah, I don't do different things when I'm working out. Like, like, I do the lat row thing and I'm rowing with both arms. So, Mama wants to know, does a teleporter destroy you in one place and then recreate you? So, a teleporter that works this way by, like, deconstructing you in one place and recreates you in another, does that functionally kill you? People are driving me crazy on this. Yeah, I think that it does kill you. Like, by definition, you cease to exist and then another being with your memories is constructed in the new location. Like, your matter is broken down and then reconstituted elsewhere. And I don't know that there is a way for that to be done without it functionally. Like, your consciousness pauses in one place. I mean, your consciousness stops in one place and then is picked up in another place. Like, but it's not fluid. She's pretty hardcore, but most women have to go back in less than 1 month in like 90% of the country because of how poorly women are treated. For real, don't make it illegal for women to not have babies if you're not going to support new moms. 2 months should be the minimum with the last month of pregnancy off of work. Yeah. Kitty says, yeah, it's the method of teleportation. It of course depends, but Star Trek is like a delete and then reprint button. You die and are reborn. Yeah. That's my opinion. I think, yeah, you are murdered, and then a new being is created that just happens to have your same memories. To you, it wouldn't feel any different, but you are a clone. Like, yeah, from your perspective, you step into the teleporter and it's lights out, but then, yeah, the other creature wakes up with your memories, and it can't tell that it isn't you. Like, that it isn't the original you. Star Trek reuses the same matter. Okay. I don't know that it not being the same matter makes a difference. Like, because for you as an individual, like, if all of your cells get taken apart, you are dead. Like, that is what death is, to some extent. Is like, you are not whole. And then when you get put back together, you're just functionally a clone, which is okay. Like, I'm not saying that I have a problem with that necessarily. Would I insist on using the, would I insist on using a shuttle every time? I don't know that I would. But I also don't have to think about that. Doesn't the clone also wake up with all of the history that your body has, though? Yeah, sure. That doesn't mean that it's not a clone and that you died. Ow. I'm playing with a hair tie and I twisted it on my finger too hard. Yeah, I'm not worried about being asymmetrical. I'm okay with it. That means my left arm is the gun's arm. That's the arm that I can show off. I'm expecting to start really feeling like there's a difference in about a month as far as bulking is concerned. Yeah, problems for a later time. I don't really need to worry about the existentialism. You know, there's an old CGP Grey video about it from like almost a decade ago that makes the comparison between the ship of Theseus versus the Cuddy Shark. Like, the Cuddy was burned down and then completely rebuilt, and then they named it the same thing, right? Is that the same ship? Versus, like, if you slowly replace the parts of a ship, but it maintains some kind of wholeness throughout the whole thing, you know, like, it's a philosophical question. God damn, it's a philosophical question at the end of the day. Drink water. Oh my god. Can we get to 100 likes today? I didn't even expect us to get to 90 likes today, but I appreciate it. I don't know what happened in my throat right then. Ooh. Here's a question. If someone dies and then is brought back to life at a later date, like years later, how old are they? Would they be the age they were when they died? I mean, they kind of address this question a little bit in, like, Captain America. Not in Captain America, but, like, in Captain America's story, because he refers to himself as, like, a 100-year-old man, even though his physicality, like, his physical body, the aging was paused for that period of time. So, yeah, I mean, there's technically two answers, I guess. When it comes to your risk for cardiovascular disease, for example, it would make more sense to go off of your physical body age. But, like, culturally, you are going to feel out of time if there's an extended period of time where you're in cryo or whatever. Mama says, my thought here is that if I make a clone of you, it will have a stream of consciousness from your life to its, not its life now. But if you don't die at the same time, nobody is going to claim that the clone is you. And if I shoot you dead 5 minutes later, the clone still isn't you. A lot of folks seem to think that if I just kill you 5 minutes earlier, at the exact moment I create the clone, it's picking up your consciousness somehow. Like the act of diverging creates like two different versions of you then at that point. I know, yeah, teleporters are basically Soma, and it is hard to disagree. I always think of Soma when we're having this discussion. Captain America grew into Joe Biden when he aged naturally. He kind of did. A little bit. Yeah, poor Aang. Although I will say with Aang, he was already kind of culturally separated from the world because of being an air nomad. Like, air nomads are already kind of separated, and then he didn't have an air nomad culture that evolved in that 100 years to then feel alienated from. So, Soma is a video game, and it's very good. And it's usually on sale for like $5 on Steam, so if you can buy it, it's worth playing for sure. And I am not going... Do not talk about it any further in the chat. It is a good game that deals with these questions. It is a horror game, and I do not want any spoilers in the chat because it is too damn good of a game to spoil. Even if you watch someone else play it, like, I think that's worth doing. When you realize that Captain America grew into Joe Biden, it makes more sense why he let 9/11 happen. Oh my goodness. It does raise so many questions. Oh. Oh my god, yawn. Yawn. He had a strong connection to his own community before finding out about being the Avatar, though. Yeah, no, but I mean, like, it's not like he came back and had to reintegrate into an air nomad society that had changed over 100 years. You know? Like, he wasn't, like, out of the loop in that way, where, like, Captain America comes back and has to reintegrate into an America that has changed dramatically over the course of time. This sort of depends on how you view consciousness. If you view consciousness as being tied to your body, then destructive teleporters are murder. However, if you view consciousness as an ethereal force outside of the material world's bounds, then teleporters may not be murder. Yeah. I don't believe in souls, though. Like, I don't believe that there is anything that is ethereal and outside of the material realm. Like, I don't think that it is possible for anything to exist outside of the material realm, because then what the fuck is it? It has to be measurable somehow. Like, everything has to be measurable to some extent. Like, even quantum mechanics are going to be explained at some point. Just because we don't understand it now doesn't mean that we won't be able to understand it in the future. Kitty says, I think if you are fully deconstructed and the matter is put into a state where you yourself are not conscious until your body is reconstructed, like you're paused and would not age, and if they left you in the buffer for, say, 2 weeks, then you would still be the age you were when you got transported, but would not have experienced any of the universe while being data and quantum material. I think you are dead, and then you are not dead. No cell in your body is dividing or moving. That is death. I think that's fair. Yeah, that it reminded me, Lord Byron, of that Star Trek The Next Generation episode where Scotty from the original series is found having preserved himself in a teleporter when the ship crashed or whatever. Like, he preserved himself in a teleporter for like 50 years. Yeah, but he wasn't like alive during that time. He was in stasis, I guess you could call it stasis. If you're in cryo, are you dead? If your heartbeat has been stopped and your brain function has been paused, and then you are revived, like, are you alive during that? I guess that's like a relevant, similar question. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar. We do know a lot about quantum mechanics, and it kind of suggests we're locked out of finding further causes for it. I think cryo is dead too. Yeah, you're just temporarily dead, assuming that you can be reconstituted, which we do not have proof that you can be reconstituted. It can be the case for much smaller mammals that you can be frozen and then reconstituted, but we do not have evidence that you can do that with human people. We are too big. It does not work the same. You can do it with gerbils. That's like why the microwave was invented. It wasn't invented like in order to make food. It was invented as a way of warming the bodies of test animals to see if they could be revived from being frozen. Suspended animation is like you're reversibly dead. Yes, you are reversibly dead. Mama, getting a lot faster at drinking Worcestershire. Used to take me a week to get through a bottle. Now it's about 3 days. Just slurp down the anchovy juice. Oh man, my eyeball. I enjoy talking philosophy with you all. It is a fun conversation. Andy in the chat says, I generally don't like watching videos of someone else playing a game. It feels like watching someone else jack off to porn. Just give me the porn so that I can beat off to it myself. True. Yeah, good tangent. Good tangent. La, 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 la. My hair in my mouth. Our macro scale monkey brains are terrible at understanding quantum scale effects. Yeah. We don't really understand it. Doesn't really make any sense. Oh my god, excuse me. Oh my god. Again. Ooh. Yawn. This has been a very enjoyable convo. Anchovies are small fish, which means they aren't going to be full of mercury and RFK Jr. me like tuna would. Yeah. And animals that live a shorter period of time are also less likely to have microplastics in them, except for, I think shrimp and other shellfish actually have a decent amount of microplastics in them. But yeah, like tiny fish like sardines and anchovies tend to not have as much in there. One way around the death of teleportation is, and this is my sci-fi conjecture, to use either quantum tunneling to simultaneously tunnel your entire body all at once to another location, or use quantum entanglement to entangle your body with a material simulacrum of you in another place, and then destroy the original blob of matter. The second option is basic, other more different cloning, but that's a different topic. That's a really interesting concept. Walt Disney is currently the Schrodinger's cat of aliveness, simultaneously alive and dead. Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen was retitled Frozen by Disney Corp in order to occultate our search results of Disney Frozen. You can't find it. You cannot find any information about Walt Disney being frozen because Disney's Frozen has overtaken the Google search results. That's pretty amusing. See, Andy, the mistake that you make is assuming that watching someone else jerk off isn't the porn. Like, that isn't the point of the porn. For some people. Oh, gosh. I 100% believe that. This is reminding me why my physics PhD shifted to biophysics. You need something more grounded. I like teleportation in superhero stories because it gets to just be magic. I mean, yeah, functionally, like, when you sci-fi it all to whatever, like, I do think that you might, like, it's almost more fun if you just think of it as magic. Like, no, I've just magically been teleported somewhere. As opposed to having to think of what what is physically happening to you. Uh-oh, are we doing conspiracy theories? Oh no. Drink more water. Anecdote from the real world. I was struck by lightning and died. Your body is put together with tiny electrical charges, and they get scrambled when hit with severe charge. I am now someone who has died and came back as a slightly different person, both in my brain and body, but I am still me. Energy plus time stop equals I was suddenly in a hospital. So I guess this is where you enter into the final part of CGB Gray's video, which is, do breaks in consciousness count as a type of death? Like, if you enter a coma, or if you're put under general anesthesia, and your consciousness, you know, you are aware, and then you're not aware, and then you're aware again. Like, is that a kind of death? And like, I understand that there is a slight difference if you're like, the electrical activity of my brain temporarily stopped, or temporarily changed. I guess you could say that that's like different than being in a coma or under general anesthesia. But yeah, it's an interesting question. Also, that's cool. I didn't know that that had happened to you. I mean, it's scary. Do you have a cool scar? My heart stopped 3 separate times. The longest period was 8 minutes in the helicopter. Holy shit. It's odd that in all this time I've watched Star Trek, I never considered that it could mean the end of your personal experience. Mm-hmm. More and more lately, I'm believing in the conspiracy theory that Democrats are bad at their job on purpose and lose intentionally. Yeah, I haven't seen anything that makes me think anything to the contrary so far. Since being introduced to that conspiracy theory. I love the scars from, like, lightning strikes. I know it's a very scary thing. In my brain, heart, and lungs, my medical chart had notes saying patient smells like burnt meat. I was breathing out the smell. That's horrifying. I kind of meant more like on your skin. But yeah, holy shit. This is also the problem with defining life with multicellular organisms, because some amount of your cells stay alive long after other cells die. I was watching, I was reading some Reddit posts recently that were like, what was the scariest thing? What were some of the scariest last words you've ever heard? So, like, a bunch of hospice people and ER workers were responding, and they were just, like, describing, you know, some deaths that they had witnessed. Why was I reading this? I do not know. But they, yeah, like, people tend to, I guess some people, like, their vision goes dark, but they're still talking. Or, like, some people hypothesize that you can still hear even if other functions have stopped. Like, this is why we're able to resuscitate people who are, quote, dead. Because it's not all of you at the same time. Like, there's still cellular function that goes on for a while. And actually, I was reading something horrendously scary that was saying that you might actually be aware in your brain that you're dead even after your heart function has stopped, even after you've stopped breathing, you can't see anything, but you might be, like, aware because of lingering electrical activity that you are dead now, which is terrifying. Oh my god, Hunger Games movies are so good. They really are really good. The scars internally are visible on an MRI. I was lucky. Lots of damage, no scar. Ugh. Ugh, scary. Spooky Yuki. Conspiracy theory, ready go. Dragons are real and prove the earth is round. We are real. Looking at decapitations, the brain functions for a decent amount of time. Ugh. Makes me want to throw up. There are reports of people's eyes looking around after decapitation. Ugh. The scout leader who was struck at the same time as me told me the last thing I said before everything went dark was, "Are you sure it's still raining too much to go to the camp store?" I guess if we had left when I wanted, we would have been fine. I also lost the 20 minutes before the strike. Wow. Yeah, little tiny bit of brain damage, huh? I was killed by lightning and all I got with this was this lame MRI. The sudden loss of blood volume makes me think it's not awareness in decapitation cases, but, like, it's not like we're gonna test that. But you don't have blood in your brain. There's the blood-brain barrier. You've got fluid in your brain, but there's no blood in your brain. So all you need is, like, for that fluid to still be intact. And then, like, some lingering electrical activity. Loss of blood pressure. Yeah, but again, yeah, you're not using blood in your brain in the same way. I think it's just, like, your electrons continue to fire for a little bit. We're so close to 100 likes. So close. Yeah, if you get struck with lightning and it stops or temporarily changes your brain activity, does the exorbitant medical bill go to you or a clone? America! Fuck yeah. Ugh. I would send the bill to the dead me. I think awareness during decapitation would require the perfect storm of situations, but there's no way everyone else would know. Yeah, I mean, you're dying. You can't, like, report on what's happening to you. There is blood in your brain. Brain bleed is a thing. I thought that that was, like, an abnormal thing, though. What is the blood-brain barrier, then? Yeah, all of your fluids are just filtered blood. Like, all of your fluids are just blood plasma. Like, the cum is blood fluid, technically. Like, I feel like if you die, you should legally not be charged by the hospital. Like, they were supposed to stop that. If you die and they don't resuscitate you, blood-brain barrier is highly selective. Semi-permeable border. Okay, fair enough. That heavily implies the existence of cum vampires. I should call him. Drew! Cum as blood should be on your soundboard. I don't actually have a soundboard set up. I guess technically I do have the ability to be like, okay, I'll press a button and then a sound will happen. It's really far away. My Go XLR is barely within human reach. I did not get to record the moments while dead, and many other electrical victims have the same gaps where we don't get a near-death experience because your brain records with electricity, and so it doesn't record memories when it gets over-zapped. True enough. Like, your electrical activity actually stopped temporarily. One of my friends doesn't have a blood-brain barrier. Uh-oh. Yeah, widows being billed by a hospital. failing to be saved can be as expensive or more expensive than being saved. There's a reason why people are like, don't take me to the hospital. Ridiculous conversations we've had today, but amusing. Yeah, lightning strike is a hell of a system reset. I like that we can manage to fill up 3 hours even if I don't have proper segments ready. Sent all the bills to the cemetery. True. Oh my god, I agree, Mama. If you're being asked which hospital I want to go to, just don't take me to a Catholic hospital. They might just kill me for fun. Because Catholics are fucking creepy. I've heard of people using Uber instead of an ambulance. Fucking true. It might be most accurate to say that the blood-brain barrier is a specialized kind of blood vessel. Fair. Uber would be cheaper and possibly faster. No kidding. This is part of why I'm, like, terrified of the prospect of living alone. Is, like, I think if you live with someone, then at least they can take you to the hospital. You know? That is one terrifying thing about living alone. Ugh. And I always feel like, okay, you know, if something happens to me at the grocery store or at the gym, then if other people are around, at least they'll make sure I get to the hospital, you know? What do you mean about the Catholic hospitals? Well, Catholic hospitals will do things like, if you are trans and you're at a Catholic hospital, they will not give you your hormones. You know, if you're taking a daily pill, like trans girls take a daily hormone pill, they will just not give you your hormones and claim a religious exemption. So I fully believe that as a trans person or as a gay person, that they would just not try very hard to save you if you were critical. Like, I think that they would just let you die and be like, oh, we tried our best. Because they're insane. What's a priority Uber gonna cost? What, $50? My last ride in the Wee Woo Mobile cost me $2,800. I don't have any Apple products, unfortunately. I probably should get a new phone soon. I definitely need a new phone case. Check this out. Like, this side is completely... Yeah, it's rough over there. I got a Discord message earlier. Ah, yes! Demon Mama is streaming tonight. She's talking about Keffals or something. I wonder what she's gonna say about Keffals. I'm gonna miss it. Well, y'all, I've had a great conversation with you all tonight. We didn't quite get to 100 likes on the video, but that's okay. It's at 97. I'll take it. For this being a non-specific stream where we just talked about whatever for 3 hours, I'm super psyched at the fact that we hit the donation goal and we almost got to 100 likes. We've consistently had people in here the whole time. Yes, we did it. So, I am planning to see you all on Sunday, barring any complications that happen between now and then. And feel free to, as usual, check me out on Patreon. I've been posting there more frequently. Even for the free tiers, I post there more often. And, you know, I'm posting on Fansly again for the first time in a long time. So, yeah. You will see me other places besides just on stream. But I am planning to see you all. Yeah, let's all raid to Demon Mama. Ooh, I actually think I can do that. Hold on. Let me find her. I can do that. Here she is.
It's always been
Okay,
trans, and in
mute.
fact,
No.
look on
No, mute. Okay, let me get the watch page. Let's see, where is it? I know I can do this. Excuse me. Customization. Redirect. There we go. Alright, now it's gonna redirect over to Mama when I end the stream. Alright? Go send Mama some love. Tell her that you're from the Horde. And that Luxander says hi. Okay?